Europe.
Right.
Good morning, New York.
Good
Um,
morning. Yes.
we're on Facebook already with Karel Flores. Now we're gonna start. We're gonna do Instagram. 1 second. Uh, I'm inviting you, Karel.
Yeah. Thank you. All right.
Okay, connected on Instagram. Now computers on silent. Yes. Let us know, guys. How is the audio? If you can hear us, or if you can hear my air conditioning. I think I just switch it off. Welcome, Karel. I don't need to introduce you. You're the star, and I would actually like to today start straight with an important subject before we go into general stuff. Remember the conversation we had in November? So we had a conversation. I'm gonna be very honest with you, and I'm gonna actually admit to my mistake. Uh, Karel, I'm hearing myself on your laptop. Yeah. I talk. Do I? No, I don't hear myself anymore. I think that's good. That's great. So anyway, back to the subject. This concerns Karel and Bruno, a new duet. They were with us in last year in 2022. And then after the weekend, I mean, my head was a mess. It was really hard losing the venue and so on. And then I confirmed Karel, and then I tell her, okay, Karel, next year is just going to be you, okay, just you and maybe a boot camp and so on. And then usually artists, because at this point I obviously rejected Bruno, right? It was a very subtle way of saying just no to him and yes to Karel. And Karel says why. And I'm only honest with people that I care about and I value the relationship. Usually when I'm not so close, I wouldn't be honest. I would just come up with something. But I told Karel, listen, I had some feedbacks from people. People said that you were more outspoken, more domineering when you teach together, and somehow people don't like that. And to be honest, I wasn't really thinking clear. What do I think about this? I was just trying to follow the public because I didn't have an opinion on my own. I wasn't in the classes. And then Karel says, "Okay, wait a minute." And then Karel, would you like to pick up on that? Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Karel, 1 second. Someone's saying they cannot hear you on Facebook. Did you mute Did you mute yourself?
No. Hold on. It was muted when I lowered it. Can you hear me on Facebook?
Okay,
Sorry.
let us
Listen,
know.
my fiance is the one that always puts this thing together. So I got spoiled, and now he went to an event in Florida, and I'm like, what do I do? So sorry. Okay, so yeah, so as I was saying, like, I just wanted to know Anya's opinion on why he was even bringing Bruno. Because if she told me like, hey, I don't like how he dances, or I don't like the work that you guys put together, I totally get that, right? But when I get a feedback like, oh, he looks like your assistant because you are more dominating in a workshop or something like that, it really looks to me like sexism, right? And I think
It,
that is a really important conversation to be had because this happens all the time the other way around. And let me preface this by saying two things. One, Bruno's an incredible dancer, and there's no way around anybody can say that. He's prepared, he's professional, he can be with anybody on the stage. He's his champion. He's been dancing since he's 9 years old, right? So he has all the experience, right? Now, when we teach together, we both teach, right? People are not used to that. So automatically, if we're splitting 50-50, it already seems like I'm doing more than him. Because
But
when yeah,
even if you were doing 60 and he was doing 40, it would
right,
still be a great partnership,
of course,
because most of the time in the community, the guy's doing 90, the girl 10, or 100, 0,
not
or
even, not even.
99
I mean,
and 1.
how
Yeah.
many times when how many times you hired me with Osmad? I never spoke one word in a workshop with Osmad. Even in the workshops with Marco, he would speak most of the time, and I would just like, give styling or whatever, right? Which is something that we argued about because I said, I think that one, I have the same level of experience. Two, I have a lot to offer. And three, we live in an industry where you teach a partner work class and it's all lead based. It's all lead based. Women are just supposed, oh, I'm sorry, the follows are just supposed to be born knowing how to follow. Nobody talks about, or I'm not gonna say nobody, right? Like in general, we're not talking about how to follow. Nobody is really giving us that guide, right? So I'm saying the 50-50 because the reality is that it is 50-50. Of course, you've met me, right? Like my voice is like, bah, look how I'm talking right now. It sounds like I'm fighting with you already, right? And of course, like I'm so passionate about what I do, right? So, and I do have more experience leading a room. I very much know how to kind of engage with my students, and that's something that probably Bruno is going to gain with more experience, right? So if we are in a class and I see like any energy, I'm going to take over and I'm going to try to like kind of like balance it out, right? But it really is seen as Bruno is less than because he's in a partnership with a woman and he is being supportive and he is allowing her to talk and he is allowing her to even lead a class if I wanted to. When you have so many partnerships when literally the follow is there just as a prop and nobody says anything, right?
I
Nobody
see
says
that.
don't bring Tanya with Adolfo or don't bring Carol with
Yeah.
Marco because Adolfo is talking more than Tanya. It's just an example, right? Or
Yeah.
because Marco's talking more than Carol. Nobody says that.
Yes, like the assumption is that a guy will talk and a lady is supposed to just look amazing and be amazing, but she doesn't need to play any other role. But I'm thinking this is more general also in life, how us strong women, we're looking for men that are going to be our partners and not, the old school male dominance. So I was surprised that even my thoughts went that way. That I didn't even take that into consideration. So I definitely learned something new, that the Latin community does not have to be just purely led by men, and it isn't anymore. But we're used to strong women dancing alone. But what about strong women dancing in duet? With partners who support them. I actually thought your show with Bruno was beautiful. I adored it, and you looked so light. But it's because you cooperate together and he's got the technique to push you up, to put you down, to breathe, to plie.
Right.
That's sometimes the
No,
best
and
dancer can look heavy if the guy doesn't know
of
how
course.
to do
I mean,
partnering.
I've looked heavy. And
Yeah.
I think that at the end of the day, like, the way we teach a class, it's also a reflection of our friendship. It's also a reflection of how we rehearse. Like Bruno and I have been dancing together for 5 years. Even like we started pre-pandemic, so you don't really count it, right? I mean, you really count from 2021. That's when we performed together. But we've been working together, like doing the choreo and whatever, since 2018, right? And we've never had one fight.
Oh, okay.
We have never argued in rehearsal. We have never had one fight. We've had our little like things as friends, as partners. We have never had one fight.
So
And that
how
is,
is he different? How is he different?
he's
Why
not
is it that?
different. We have a partnership.
Mhm.
You see, and I feel like a partnership, and I have that even with my fiance, right? Like a partnership is where one takes over when the other and helps when one is weak, or if I'm stronger at something, I'm gonna do it. If he's stronger at something, he's gonna do it. And he's gonna help me with my weaknesses, and I'm gonna help him with his weaknesses. But most importantly, he's not there to carry me. He's not there to push me around. He's not there to lead me. he's there as my partner who starts a movement and I continue one movement. If he doesn't plie and I plie, it doesn't work. If he plies and I plie, it works, right? So the thing is, when we mess up, for example, let's say, when we mess up in a rehearsal, nobody goes, oh, you should have done this. How many of you watching right now have you done that with your partner, right? And I'm not saying our partnership is perfect or anything, but I'm just telling you that sexism affects us all, even affects the men, right? So if we learn to get rid of this sexism, of this toxic masculinity where like the guy is supposed to lead and then the woman is just a prop, it will help everything. Bruno doesn't have that. My fiance doesn't have that. We split things. When Bruno makes a mistake, he owns his mistake, he figures it out and he fixes it. And he goes, oh shit, I think, sorry, I'm cursed. I don't think I did the plie. And I'm like, oh, let's figure it out. Let's see how we can do it together. Or like, sometimes it's like, oh, Bruno, like, I'm not feeling 100% today. He's like, I got it, or when he's like, I'm really stressed, like in elSol.
He was writing his...
For Tuesday, he had to submit his thesis on microbiology and COVID variants, right? Mm-hmm. So Bruno wasn't 100% there. So I took a lot more of the workload, right? Mm-hmm. So this happens in a partnership. When we mess up in shows, before, when I would mess up in shows with previous partners, it was a 3-week fight. So I would go on stage terrified of a fight. Now when we mess up on stage, you know what we do? We watch the video and we're like, where did we mess up? What happened? We don't go, oh, you didn't do. No, let's figure it out. Because sometimes maybe I didn't do something, right? Let's say sometimes I didn't do it. But maybe it's because he didn't do the thing before. And if we really have to break down whose fault it was, we're never going to solve it. We just say, this didn't happen. Let's figure out how to make it happen next time. Period. Mm-hmm. No issue, no problem. Problem solving. Partnership.
I love that. I love
communication.
I love that. I love that. Where do you find these men? We want them too.
I know. I have no idea. I don't know, but years of therapy. You know what?
I've been in therapy for such a long time, but I think I'm born in the wrong country.
Listen,
I live in the wrong country.
Cuban and Bruno's Puerto Rican, so I don't know if it's even about the U.S. So
let me read the comments because we had a lot of interactions here, but it was hard subject. Didn't want to interrupt.
Yes.
Thank you guys for joining.
Hi everybody. We went straight to the heat. We didn't even say hi to all of you.
Good morning. Good morning. November. There was more. I'm scrolling, guys. Just bear with me 1 second.
Yeah. Thanks for the amazing subject. Somebody wants me to go to Venezuela. I want to go.
Yeah.
I see a lot of friends. Amne, preach. Yes, I will never forget the bootcamp in Paris.
Yeah, I was there too. But at least one of the editions.
You were tortured as well.
Yeah, I didn't want to perform. Yeah. Preach. Yes, preach, girl.
Hi from Philly. Hola. Yeah, the other doesn't overcome the rehearsal. If it do, it will be a problem. I try to get the right partner is very important. And of course, I think that's right. And, one advice that I can give somebody, like in my previous partnership, and like, I want everybody to be really clear that like, there's not shit talking. There's just my experiences, and my experiences are my experiences. And if I mention any of my experiences, it's never like with the intention of like knocking somebody down. Like there's two sides of every story. And I think that we need to learn from our experiences without automatically assuming that it's malintended or like I'm trying to like, whatever. These are my experiences. And I think that one of the things that I want to do with these experiences is make sure that I maybe communicate them and maybe help somebody. So in my previous experience, I decided to have a partnership without ever rehearsing together, dancing together, without really knowing each other. Right. And that was a mistake because at the end of the day, you can be two incredible dancers, but if you don't have chemistry to dance, it's really hard to dance. Right. Mm-hmm. So with Bruno, for example, I asked him to dance together and I was like, let's get to know each other. Let's go have dinner. Let's hang out. Let's chat. Let's talk about our values, our intentions, our future projections. Let's rehearse together. Let's dance together to see how that feels. So for us, it was never like, okay, we decide to dance together. Well, it's done. Even if we don't connect, right? So I do, it's like almost like going on dates, right? You don't meet somebody and you're like, let's get married. You know, you go on dates and you get to know each other, and then later you decide if you're together, and then later you decide if you move in together, and then later you decide if you have to get married, have kids, whatever, right? So with dance partnerships, I think it should be the same. Just not be like, oh my god, this person is famous, I'm famous, it's gonna work. Not necessarily.
Mhm.
I'm the
Mhm.
prime example of that, right? So don't be selective with the people that you interact with, because at the end of the day, Bruno and I don't only work as a partnership because we dance well together. We work well as a partnership because we have similar values. Because we see life similarly.
Mhm.
So of course, when we say like, oh, let's work harder because we want that, well, we both want the same thing. So we are going to be aligned in the way we rehearse, in the way we talk, in the way we perform, in the way we whatever, right? So make sure that you are aligned with the people that you want to work with, or that you want to spend time with, or with your friends, because we do live in a world nowadays where there's very limited time. So the time that you
Mhm.
are going to spend on somebody should be time well spent, right?
I love that, and I also love to see how you're growing, how you're maturing. It's very hard
It's
to
about
talk
time.
about. It's very hard to talk about the past and the lessons without, actually talking about the difficult stuff. So
Right.
I always have this dilemma, if I want to share something that I've learned, how much to reveal without,
Right.
it's not to accuse someone, but sometimes it's
Of course.
important to say. And I think when we got into the community, for me, it was 2001, internationally 2004. The sexism was standard. Right now, at least you can have a conversation about this. We can go live and other women
Yes.
can listen, so they can at least connect.
Women
they
and men and people who don't identify with either gender. So let's
Sure,
just make sure
sure.
that, right?
Everyone, everyone,
Everyone.
everyone.
Yeah.
I think for leaders, for men, they need to see the point in having a partnership. I think it's also a general thing in life. They need to see what advantages they can have from a partnership, as opposed to like a control-based, dominated relationship. And what would you say to that?
I
What
mean,
are
I
the
think I
advantages?
I understand how scary it could be to say, like, oh, well, we've had the power for so long, right? What does it mean to share? Right? I can see how they can be like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And then, like, but at the end of the day, is what I was saying earlier. Any type of bigotry affects everybody. And we don't really think so, but it does. Let's say sexism, right? Let's go with a really simple example. Having a kid, right?
Mhm.
If you have a kid in a traditional sexist family, right, a patriarchal family where the father goes to work and the mother stays at home taking care of the children, right? Well, at the end of the day, what if the woman was to be able to make more money than the man, right? Like, what if the woman could has more potential to make more money than the guy, and then the guy has to work twice because he doesn't make enough money, right? Let's say the guy or wants to stay with the baby. Let's say the guy wants to be a dreams, or like has this instinct that he could never realize to stay with the baby. Well, he can't do that, right? He can't really show emotion because toxic masculinity is not just going to work. You can't show emotion. You have to be strong and manly, right? All of those suppressed things, they're going to show up later in life. They're going to show up as diseases. They're going to transfer to your kids. They're going to transfer to your society, to the way you treat your wife, right? So that's just a very, very
But
light,
but
superficial
these
example.
these arguments. I mean, we all know them and we find them important. But if you talk to like a guy who is, he makes his money. He likes to dominate. He doesn't want to do the hard stuff at home because he has the position to demand, or he is in a relationship that lets him do that. Then for him, it's like, why would we change this? This is good. I don't need anything more. And this is where the problem is. It's not with the sensitive people who are willing to discover more or want to be more real in a relationship, but this is for
But
me, like
but
I
you
can't I
see,
cannot get through.
the thing is about freedom. The thing is about having choices, right? So it's not about pinpointing specific examples because there's so many, right? The thing with bigotry is that it takes freedom away from people. And you might think it's freedom only in the minorities, only for women, only for people from the LGBTQ plus community,
Mhm.
only from people of color. That's not true. it affects everybody, right? So at the end of the day, having a world where there's racism, it's proven that affects the environment, right? So at the end of the day, that if we have a world that is unfair and unjust, one way or another, it's going to affect you, whether you see it right away or you don't see it right away, right? Because even if you grew up feeling like you're a macho, like, oh, I don't know if, okay, I have a friend. I have a friend, right? And this friend got together with a guy. And when this friend got together with the guy, she was like, I'm a strong woman. I want this. I want that, blah, blah. And he was like, of course, I have no problem with that. I get it, right? And then their relationship became public. And then some men started talking to my friend's boyfriend, saying, like, oh my God, how can you do this? How can you do that? Like, blah, 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 blah. And then this guy started changing because he started hearing these things, right?
Social
And
pressure.
yes, and they broke up.
No.
Till this day, that guy can't get over my friend. He still feels like he's attached to her. I don't know if he loves her or doesn't love her, but he really wanted a woman like her. He wanted a woman like her. He wanted this strong woman. He wanted this type of relationship. But society didn't allow him to have this woman because of the way it looked. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, he continues to be a macho man, but deep inside, he still looks at her stories. Right?
Yeah.
So this guy wanted that, but he couldn't have it because of the way it looked. So that is limiting, even if you don't know that it's limiting. Right?
That's a
So
good
that will happen
point.
with all bigotry. And I think that what's really important about this conversation, sorry to interrupt you,
Mm-hmm.
is that we analyze our internalized bigotry, our internalized sexism, our internalized racism, which is like something that I appreciate so much that we have this conversation, because you and I had that conversation. I told you, listen, if it's about Bruno, I get it. But if it's about sexism, let's have a conversation, you know? And you were like, you know what? Let me think about it. You came back and you were like, you're right. I'm being sexist. Let's bring Bruno and let's have a conversation on Instagram because people need to hear about this. That is how you make a change in your community, right? You look at yourself, because Anya, I've made so many mistakes. I've made sexist mistakes and remarks, racist mistakes and remarks. I've done so many mistakes because in Mexico, just being racist towards Mexicans is just the way it is. Right? Especially if you look more European or whatever you want to call it, right? So I've made so many of these mistakes, but you know what? I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to learn, to be held accountable, because I want my community and my world to be better. And I want to have the freedom to do whatever I want as a bossy ass bitch woman that you all want to think I am, right?
So, Karel, how have you changed over the stages of your career? Because I could identify the Yamule time, then the solo bootcamp time, and then the Marco and Karel time, and then there was the coffee time. And actually, I think with your fiance, your great videos emerged, right? He supported a lot the visual aspect of your work.
Yeah.
And then you and Bruno, which is like the current phase. I have certain observations, reflections, but I would like you to talk about it, the kind of Karel you were at all of these points, the difficulties you experience, and what you've learned.
I mean, I think that I personally don't like to think about the artist separated from somebody's saying I'm waiting for my wedding invitation. um, so I don't like to really separate the artist from the dancer, and I think that that's a really problematic place to be for people, when we just like admire somebody and we allow them to be just terrible people, and we continue to support and admire them and not holding them accountable. So I think that my journey as a dancer is completely related to my journey as a person, right? And yeah, of course, my Yamule years, and I know a lot of people love Yamule Carol, right? And a lot of people love Yamule Carol more than they love 30-year-old Carol, right? 38-year-old Carol. And I get it. That's a lot how people knew me and met me and what they fell in love with me, right? But at the end of the day, Yamule Carol was Osmar's Carol, right? In a way, it was like I was 19 years old. I was an immigrant in the US by myself, trying to find who I was, having a lot of cultural shock, battling a lot of depression, battling a lot of not really knowing, understanding myself, battling a lot of sexism as well. And at the end of the day, if you love me doing Esa Mujer, well, that's a smart choreography, right? So at the end of the day, the Carol that you saw there was not the Carol sending her own message, not the Carol moving and dancing like she moves and dance, right? And it's nothing wrong with that, right? That was the beginning of my journey. I love that I had somebody to guide me, somebody who's amazing at choreography that I could like dance to. And I think that it got to the point where I said, okay, I've been here for 10 years working for the vision of somebody else, and now I want to develop my voice and I want to develop myself as a dancer, choreography artist, whatever you want to call it. So it's time for me to move on to embark that journey, because it's like when you are 18, you leave your parents' house. Well, nowadays we leave it a little early. People leave it like at 40 or something. I read an article, but whatever. At some point in your life, you feel grown. You're like, it's time for me to go, right? And then I think that the phase that happened next, because within Yamule, there's a lot of competition within the dancers, and I think that Osmar likes to kind of fuel this competition within dancers, because in his own way, that's how he thinks like dancers are going to continue to make themselves stronger. And like again, this is not
Actually,
shit
you know
talking.
what?
Yeah,
You know what? I had a partner in Poland who did the same. It was
yeah,
actually he was doing it in a very dirty, manipulative way. He was like talking between each other, the girls' backs, like, "Oh, she said that," and then, "Oh, I'm gonna make you the lead dancer," so that they don't like each other, but that stimulates them to get better.
yes,
In a very toxic
of
way. But
course.
the atmosphere was horrible. I could not believe that he's using such methods. But Osmar wouldn't be the first, I guess
Yeah, and
there's.
and I mean, and like I said, I'm not talking badly about anybody. This is just, what it is.
Yeah.
It's the reality of things, and like I think everybody's trying to do their best with the tools that they've had, with how they grew up, with whatever, right? So it doesn't come from like a like a superior position of values, right? I'm not saying what he did is right or wrong. I'm just saying
Mhm.
that's what it was, right? So, and I come from a family who's very competitive. My grandmother also trying to do the best that she could. She kind of overprotected some people in the family and some others not. So we always felt like we needed to compete for her love, right? So
Mhm.
I come already with that, already in a world where it's like there's not enough space for women. So you all have to compete with each other, because that's also a reality of our society, right? And then they put us to compete. So it was really toxic and it was really painful for me. And then when I left, I was like, I don't want that anymore. I don't want to be like nasty competitive, right? Like I don't want this for me. So then that's when I created KF World. And it was a project that evolved, right? And I've also made a lot of mistakes with the project. I'm not the perfect leader. I'm not the perfect mentor. I'm not the perfect person, right? I'm also learning. It was like the
So
first time. Yeah.
what mistakes did you make on that when you embarked on that road?
I mean, I feel like in general, one of the biggest challenges for me in my career has been that I don't particularly see myself as like, oh my God, I'm like the leader and I'm like the mentor. And a lot of people actually do see me as that.
Hmm.
And they expect a lot from me, and I don't always am there to give that, right? And there's a lot of misconceptions, because for example, KF World is a huge community. It's a community, right? So the point of KF World is to create community where like directors talk to each other, help each other, dancers talk to each other. We have Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, Instagrams. Right? We have all of this to support each other. And a lot of people think, oh, it's Carol, right? Let me talk to Carol. Let me have direct contact to Carol. And I just can't do that all the time, right? I'm also like, I also want to have space for my private life as well, right? So a lot of those mistakes have been from
Hmm.
communicating that clearly, from maybe like not meeting people's expectations, because the expectations were never really that clear, even for me. right? Like I
Mhm.
get in a position where like, okay, I'm the leader of KF World. I don't really know what my role is. And people don't know what their role is either. And they don't know what to expect. And friendship gets blurred with business, and like all of that stuff gets really complicated. And now like we relaunched KF World after the pandemic. We did KF World 2.0, where I sat down with my team and I was like, okay, this is what I can do realistically, and this is what I cannot do. And I want to provide this for my dancers, and I want to make sure that they are supported, but like I want to make it clear that I can't be the one like texting 30 directors all day at all hours of the day and like looking at their videos, because it's not possible. So we've really kind of like evaluated a lot of those things, and relaunched KF World. But within that, like I've also made a lot of mistakes as a person, right? Like I've made mistakes as a person. Like maybe I haven't been there to support somebody when they needed it or when they expected me to do it. And I've also been sexist. KF World, which is my boot camps as well, right? It developed. It wasn't like, oh my God, I'm a feminist and like, I'm going to do this whole thing. It started as, okay, I know there's something off. I didn't realize that I was experiencing so much sexism in the industry until later, that I was like, oh shit, it's not that there's something wrong with me. It's that they're sexist. Like it
Mm.
took me a while to kind of get to this point even. And then I was like, oh, it started with like, I don't want women competing. I want to create teams, obviously also as a source of income. That's a reality,
Mhm.
and I was like, okay, I want to create this where women don't compete, and the whole process developed. And I think that KF World and the boot camps is the most precious aspect of my career, because I get to grow so much, I get to learn so much, I get to listen to so many different people, I get to see them grow. And I feel like I'm never like, even though like I had the partnership with Marco and I have the partnership with Bruno, that's still very much present and alive. I'm only taking a little bit of a break from boot camps because I got tired. I got tired and I
Mhm.
don't like to do things half-assed. But I am doing a boot camp in elSol, so it might be one of
Yeah.
the very few that you can take.
I
Um,
asked nicely. I
yeah.
really asked.
Yeah, I'm only doing like yours. I did one in
Okay.
March because like my friend was like, please, 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 and I was like, fine, but like I'm gonna send videos in advance because this is the thing. And
Oh shit! There's a promotion, guys. I'm sorry. I'm so
oh,
into this conversation that I forgot about marketing. We have
never
right
forget
now,
about marketing.
exactly until midnight. We have a special discount code. If you type Karel with capital letters, you get 15% off your bootcamp pass, and Salsa and a VIP pass as well. So it's only today. Make sure you join Karel's bootcamp. It's going to be the only one this year, right?
The
I think
only one this year.
the only one this year. So yeah, sorry for interrupting
No,
you.
it's okay. And for example, like with the boot camp, like sign up early because I do like, even you can sign up like there, but I want to prepare and I want to send some videos, and and this is, I think, one of the biggest dilemmas that I have as a person in general, and as a dancer, teacher, mentor, whatever you want to call me, right?
Hmm.
Because I like to push. I like to push.
Hmm.
I like to push myself. I like to push the dancers. I like to push my community. Like I like that. I thrive on that, right? And because I want to push, sometimes I go too far, right? Sometimes I
Okay.
go too far, and it can be stressful, and I can be very misunderstood, and I can also stress, and I don't
What's too
always have.
far? What's too far for you? Just
Too far,
name
people
example.
crying in a boot camp because I did too many formations,
Okay.
right? Like sometimes it just like I liked the boot camps where it was like a space for people to push themselves to grow.
Mm.
And you see, like nowadays people are doing 4-hour boot camps that are super simple with no formations, no whatever. I'm not knocking it. Good for you. You know how many times my colleagues were like, Carol, why the hell? Ooh, okay, my phone committed suicide. Sorry. Hold on. Let me bring it back. Are you okay, phone? So give me 1 second. You see, this is what happens when Fiance's not around. So wait, hold on. There we go. Are we back? Yes. Oh, hold up.
Okay, now I don't hear you. Wait, something got cut off.
Yeah. Hold on. Yes, 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 I got it.
Where are you?
I'm
Okay.
here. Okay. Whew.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
that stressed me. Okay. Um, so like nowadays people are doing kind of simpler boot camps, and I think it's smart, right? A lot of people are like, why did you do all these formations? Why do you put hats and like have people like go with all these things? And I was like, because that was my vision from the beginning. My vision from the beginning was like, I want to do this. I want to do it the way I would like to take it, right? When I was a 19-year-old girl, really wanting to dance, coming to New York, spending my money. That was so hard when you convert it from pesos to dollars, right? And spending my money, I took a private, right? Died and resurrected. Yes, I took a private, and like the private sucked, and I paid $100 in 2005. You know, $100 in 2005 is a lot of money in Mexico, right? And the private sucked, and I was like, I said to myself, if I ever teach and charge $100 for a private, I'm gonna teach them how to do things, not what to do. I'm gonna try to be as integral, even if I'm not the best, right? I messed up, right? I'm not saying I'm the best teacher, but I'm gonna give my best every time. So when I created the boot camps, it was like I created that with that in mind. I want to give my best. I want to give them something that they've never done before, something that they haven't tried. I want to challenge them. I want them to learn how to do formations and choreography and how to be on the stage, right? And that's a lot. That could be really stressful.
Actually, that's really beautiful. It's also why ambitious dancers take your boot camps. As someone who sometimes presents the shows, when I have all these choreographies that don't differ, because obviously in 4 hours people cannot deal with the new skills, with remembering the choreography, with the stage fright, with the space, so it never looks good, and it doesn't stand out.
Right.
So
and you see, sometimes ours didn't look that great either in 10 hours, right? Because it was messy or whatever. But I feel like at the end of the day, we were presenting a lot of effort. We were sending the message. If you're going to get on a stage, you work hard for it, right? So like that was my vision all along. And like, sometimes I can be extreme. Sometimes not everybody's like me. Not everybody thinks like me. Not everybody wants to do things like I do. And I understand that I'm dealing with a lot of people. So I started feeling very anxious about the boot camps. I started feeling like, because, a lot of people are happy, but then some people are not happy. Some people are crying, and some people are, and I started being like, oh my God, then I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm doing it too. I'm there for 10 hours, 12 hours. I'm there on the stage with you, with all my traveling, with all my rehearsals. I'm there too. And I'm like, if I'm putting all this work and effort and people are not happy, which of course I'm talking in general, because there's a lot of people that were also really happy, right? I'm like, I don't know if I want to reevaluate, if I want to continue to do this.
It's always for us, for artists, for entrepreneurs, it's always the most painful feedback, although it's, for instance, unhappy customers at elSol are around 1% or less,
right.
Which is nothing from business perspective. But for me to read the negative surveys, I bring my friend over, we sit down together, because I cannot read this alone.
Yeah.
And it always hurts. So
they say like we develop that.
Hi, I'm Nitties.
Yeah, they say that's actually a biological like mechanism. Like we develop this, like where we see negative threats as much bigger than like positive threats, because that's how we can evolve, right? So of course, like when I hear these things, for me it's like, okay, there's the room for improvement, right? That's where, because I think like we can really learn. And let me tell you, all of them haters, they've helped me so much. So at the end of the day, you can do two things with negative reviews. You can right? Or you can do something with it, because I'm not going to say I'm stoic. I cried over negative reviews, right? For sure. And I've suffered, and I've lost sleep, and I've had the conversations in the shower, when you're
what was the worst you read?
Oh my God, this was a long time ago. I think some of you know the story, but this was a long time ago. First of all, let me preface by saying that my worst critics are people from Mexico, right? People from Mexico have said the worst things I have ever heard in my career.
Oh my God, but I connect with you there, because my project is also, if criticized, then by Polish people, that I'm not doing this for the Polish people, that is only for the Germans and for the Brits, that I don't care about the Polish community. Or when I started to promote more actively in the Polish community, then they said, oh, you're missing money, so now you remembered about your homies, it's a lot. So yeah, but I'm
You know,
curious to
and I
hear
think
about.
there's something really valuable to say on that note, because I think that, and this is my perspective, and anybody has some comments, I would love to hear what you think. But I think, like, I'm Mexican, and I've never even attempted to hide that or not be proud of the fact that I'm Mexican. I grew up in Mexico. You ask me, I always say Mexico. When somebody asks me, how do you want me to introduce you? I say Karel Flores from Mexico and New York, right?
Okay.
Because I live in New York. I'm almost going to live in New York the same amount of time that I lived in Mexico. So I'm very much, hello,
That's
daughter.
my daughter. That's my daughter.
Yeah. So I could argue I'm almost, half of my life here, half my life there. I'm Mexican. I consider myself Mexican, and nobody's going to take me out of being Mexican. So I think if somebody's representing you, you should support them. Like, you should be
Mm,
more lenient on their mistakes because they're your people. Hold them accountable, talk to them. But like, if there's a Mexican making it, I'm going to be the first one to support that person because they're Mexican.
mm,
I represent every Mexican there is when I go to El Sol,
mm,
right? When I get on the stage and they say Mexico, they're like, oh, Mexicans are like that. They work like that. They operate like that. They look like that, whatever. Right. So anyway, past that, one time I was in Mexico and I went to elSol, which is one of the biggest competitions in the world right now. Right. And one of my really, really, really good friends has a social on Sunday in elSol because elSol ends on Saturday night. And I was exhausted. I had been teaching privates. I was there with the amule. I was exhausted, and it was his social. And I was like, you know what? I didn't say anything to anybody. I was like, I'm gonna show up and support him. I'm just gonna show up without telling him anything, just to support him. So I show
yeah.
up. It's okay.
I'm sorry, but
We have
she
live.
has to talk to me. I tell her I have a live. What is it? I'm live publicly.
Publicly. She's like, no,
Sorry,
thank you.
guys.
So I went to the social. I was really tired, and I was like, kind of like, I don't kind of want to be there. And somebody asked me to dance, so I was like a little bit like, whatever, normal tired,
Yeah.
right? And then somebody was like, you know what? Take a Red Bull. Let me tell you, caffeine gets me crazy.
Uh huh.
Fucking out of this world. Like, I can't even have one coffee because Jesus Christ, like, I am wild and I talk 100 miles per hour and there's no way of me
Okay.
stopping. So somebody was like, have a Red Bull. I had the Red Bull. Literally kicks in like Popeye, when he takes the spinach, and they asked me to dance. And so it happens that the second person that asked me to dance danced on two. And the first person that asked me to dance before danced on one. When I get home, oh my God, Anya, there was this message on Facebook. This was a long time ago. Fucking Karel Flores, does she think she is? She started on one. I started on one. I started on one Mexico. There's nothing between on one and two. Like, what? And he was like, she thinks she's such a diva. She comes here and she doesn't even want to dance on one. She was like so nasty when she danced with me, and then when I see her dance on two, she's so happy. Like, it was like that, right? Like, the comments. Oh my God! I hope she dies. I hope she dies, right? Like, I hope she dies. She is such a bad person. How can she do this? Who does she think she is? Like, there was plenty of comments saying that I hope she dies.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, I cried for days. I wrote every single person that commented, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I get chills thinking about it because I feel like I was so young, right? Like, I'm so sorry. Like, this is not what happened. Like, I didn't mean to. Now, when they say that, I'm like, fuck you, right? Because I'm like, whatever, tell me to my face. But like, then it really hurt me,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So nowadays, like, there's negative comments and there's a lot that I learned from. Like, if somebody says like, oh, Carol's not doing this, I'm like, let me pay attention. Let me pay attention because there might be a point to this. I also try to take things from certain people. Like, I don't just, listen to everybody because a lot of people, somebody said, sounds like a comment from someone who can't dance on two. This was back in like 2011 or 2010. So I guess there was still a rivalry between on one or on two. Oh, silly, right? But I guess, like, negative comments, if you know what to do with them, they can make you better. right? But they hurt. They definitely hurt. So that's what happened with boot camps. Back to the, let's take it back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to take a break from them. I need to evaluate things. I need to evaluate myself and then see if I want to come back with them. Do I want to make it easy, or do I want to continue this way and maybe find tools to make it less stressful for dancers? So that's where I'm at, right? Trying to find the middle ground between my vision and not compromising my values, but still kind of like try to make it a more positive experience for everybody that has to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. We'll see in
It,
November.
well, it's definitely something for people who like to be challenged. And yes, so if you're a beginner, if you have strong nerves, definitely join. But if you don't,
Yeah,
it can be
I think it's like I've been saying this a lot lately. It's being okay with being uncomfortable. If
mm,
you're okay with being uncomfortable, then you can join my class, you can join my bootcamp. If what you want is just to feel like free and shake your shoulders, maybe it's not the right place,
yeah.
you know?
Someone is saying, estuve en el bootcamp de Karel Flores en Argentina, ha sido
Oh,
una de las
una de las.
mejores experiencias. Gracias.
Ay,
Yeah.
gracias.
You know,
Sí.
last year after elSol, someone also told me uh, in a general class, that
Sorry,
they
somebody
left.
said challenged is not the right word. Okay, sorry,
Um,
keep going.
yeah, that you were also mean and that you were yelling in the class, and I know what they're, because you probably say, if you're here, then you'd better just make the most of this hour.
Right,
If you're here anyway, you
right.
say these things. So someone who just came to have fun may not like that. But I also had a comment about general
Of
classes that you
course.
were mean bitch.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I own it. No, but you see, this is the very interesting thing. I find that people who find, and mind you, like I've been going to therapy for years, and one of the things that I try to work on the most is my delivery. I know that my delivery can be better. My
Hmm.
message is good, my delivery can be better. I'm still working on it. I don't know if it's ever going to get fully fixed because I'm very passionate also and like in the moment and then whatever, right? But I find it that people who demand of themselves more than I demand of them don't find me tough.
Hmm.
People who demand of themselves less than what I'm demanding find me super tough and a bitch and a mean and like whatever, right? Because I have my teacher who I take class with every week that I can. And a lot of people say that she's so mean. Yesterday, she made the comment. She was like, oh, yeah, everybody has a story saying that I'm mean. And a girl went, oh, yeah, I have a friend that said that she took a class with you and you were so mean. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, I don't think she's mean at all.
Hmm.
I'm like, I love taking her class because she's demanding, but I'm demanding of myself way more than what she's demanding of me. So
Hmm.
when she comes back with like something super direct and tells me how to do it, I'm like, thank you, because I couldn't find it. So now you gave me the tools to find it. I don't go, oh my God, like she's so mean, right? I'm just, most of the time, we project what we
Hmm.
feel onto others, right? So because I demand so much of myself, my projection is I'll take it. But if I'm like, oh, I'm just here to do this, and like somebody is like, no, you need to work on your technique. No, you need to like have your brains on when you're learning. No, you need to like focus. No, you don't talk in class when I'm talking, because if I'm telling you something, of course my delivery can be better, right? But when you don't talk in class and somebody says, don't talk in class, you're not gonna be like, oh my gosh, she's so mean. You're gonna be like, of course, don't talk in class, right? So I think that there's people for everybody. There's people for everybody. I am not for everybody. And I learned that a long time ago when I was in Yamule. You know, Osmar was like, Carol, your class is too hard. Like, why are you doing it so hard? Why are you so direct? Like, make it more enjoyable, make it happy. And I was like, I don't want to. Like, I want to push. Like, I don't want to. So then my niche was created.
Hmm.
And I'm so thankful for that because people know what to expect when they come to my class. And I get a lot of ranges of people, right? Of course, but like a lot of people that come to my class take it seriously. And you know how beautiful it is as a teacher to have people behind you that are pushing so much. It's amazing, right? Right now in New York, I opened an advanced beginner class. It was half as full as my regular classes. I'm like, okay, so you don't want the easy stuff from me. You want
Hmm.
the hard stuff from me. because I created that niche. People know if they're going to come to me, they might not get it, they might be frustrated, they might whatever, but they know that I care.
Hmm.
They know that I care about them, that I care about my community, that I care about my own personal dancing and my own personal development. And I think
Hmm.
that's valuable, or I hope they know. I think they know, right?
Yeah,
Well, let me.
you're getting a lot of support here. Thank you guys. Yeah, I think you created this brand and this niche. Actually, I think you were the first woman who went on her own to create such a strong brand outside of a duet or team.
I
And
mean, you
then
had people like Grisel. Grisel came before me, right? I
yeah,
mean, Shani was kind of like there, kind of at the same time. I think that I made like I'm sure there was maybe one or two boot camps before I started doing the boot camps, but I
mhm,
think I was the one that kind of like was like, okay, you want to, because when I left Yamule, I was like, okay, I want to travel. I don't want to travel for $500, right? Because I
mm,
need to. One of the reasons why I wanted to leave Yamule was also to be more financially stable. So I was like, the way to do it is like, there's a certain amount that you need to pay me for a boot camp. So if you want to bring me, you have to bring a boot camp. So I
mhm,
think I was one of the first ones that was like, there's,
mhm,
like that was a kind of an entrepreneur with that idea, right? Where it
mhm,
was like, okay, there's space to make money as a solo woman that is not just like performing because they don't take it seriously and like, the whole sexism again, right?
mhm,
So I wouldn't take the credit of being one of the being the first solo woman to come out, because there's a lot of people that came before me that were amazing. But I do think there's some credit to be had to like the whole bootcamp idea, right? That was
yeah,
like
I mean, I think you took it to another level in terms of the entrepreneurial spirit,
right.
context
Okay. Yes, I can see that.
that became a concept, um, and you in the concept, right? As an artist individually. So we got the bootcamp phase, and then Marco happened. Can you tell us a bit? Marco, by the way, it's all good. We love you. I love you. Marco is gonna do his bootcamp this year with Michael Fons. So it's just as a lesson that we're gonna talk now.
Uh,
That I heard this.
you see, like I think that something to be learned from the situation with Marco was that one, we started a partnership without really knowing each other. Actually, I didn't like him at all. Like personally, I had like a weird encounter with him when I started dancing salsa, and like I just didn't like him. So when he wrote me a message like, oh, because I think at some point after I left Yamule, I put something on Facebook like, oh, I'm ready to look for a
Yeah,
partner,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then he wrote me a message, and I was like, oh, no thanks, And I didn't even reply. Which, by the way, FYI, I'm bad at replying. I am bad at replying. If something is important, send me an email because I'm bad at replying. So if I haven't replied, I read all of this stuff, but sometimes I just like I'm really absent-minded. I do things, a lot of things at the same time, and I forget to reply. So I was a little like, and then I forgot to reply. That's the reality, right? And then we went to an event, and he talked to Ataka, and he
Mhm.
said, oh, Carol's so rude, she's looking for a
I remember
partner,
you
and
told
like
me.
she doesn't even reply to my message, right? So Ataka came and talked to me and was like, Carol, at least say no, like just at least give him an answer. Like, and I was like, fine. So I went, and when I was leaving, I caught him entering, or so the other way around, I don't remember. And I was like, hey, let's talk, right? And then we started talking, and then he kind of told me like his vision, and it aligns with mine to a certain extent. And I was like, okay, this is how I would like things to be done. Like from the beginning, I was like, I would like my name to come in the partnership before yours. And I was like, it's not a power move for me, it's more like it means a lot in the industry for women, right? Because it's
Mhm.
usually like the guy's name first, then the woman's name. And I was like, I want it, I don't want it as a power move, I want it as a message, right? Like that a guy is willing to have a partnership and whatever. So like, hey, yeah, no problem. It was a problem, but it was not a problem at the beginning. So we started working together, and I think the reality is that one, I was very hurt from Yamule. I was very hurt. Like when I wasn't ready to, I think, start something because I was very hurt. I was starting to develop a lot of stage fright, right? So I was really
Mhm.
scared to go on stage. And then on top of that, Marco and I didn't really, I don't think we hear the music in the same way. I think we, I think there's something there like that is not like chemistry, like literally there's something there that we don't like see it the same. So we didn't really connect like just as a partnership
Mhm.
until the end. In the end, they got better, and then we separated. But but at the beginning, it was really challenging. And then we were far from each other, right? He was in Italy, I was in New York,
Mhm.
so that didn't give us room to kind of like rehearse enough and work on this. And I came from a company where rehearsing was the heart of it, right? Like we worked so hard. So I was having a lot of issues going on stage. I was like having panic attacks backstage and just really scared, and it showed. It showed a lot, and it was a really tumultuous part of my life. I was with somebody when I started dancing with Marco, and like like I broke up that relationship, which was a really good relationship. I was really happy. Marco was very insisting on kind of like being together, and I didn't want that. And then I kind of caved in and I gave in to the idea of like this selling of the
Mhm.
dream of like, oh, we can be together and be and have a life together and travel together. And I didn't want it. I'm saying this because I want people to know that no is no. And you got to know what you want, right? So I was kind of like convinced. I don't know, right? I take my part of it and my responsibility. Of course, I'm not a victim, but like, it was just insisting, insisting, and insisting. And we end up being having a partnership of two people who don't have the same values in life at all. We don't have the same values in life at all. We're very different people. We operate with very different values. We see life very differently. And we were constantly walking like this, or actually like this, right? Instead of walking together as a
Mhm.
partnership. So that reflected on our dancing. Our dancing wasn't great. Our partnership wasn't great. It was really bad. It was really bad for
Mhm.
me. Like, of course, there was great moments. Of course, there was great parts
Mhm.
of it. A lot of people. I look at the videos back now, and I'm like, wow, the choreos were really amazing. We both really wanted to push. That was amazing. Um, but it was something that wasn't supposed to happen, and it kind of got
Mhm.
forced. And then those were the consequences. It was very toxic. I was very toxic as well. He would take the worst parts of me out. Probably I did the same to him, and it was just a really bad relationship all around. And bad relationships happen all the time. That I'm not saying he's bad or I'm
Mhm.
bad. I'm just saying we're
Mhm.
different. We have different values, and you can't just really run your life like that. So then when I made the decision, so we had a really bad tech. He got really upset, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. Like I'm done with this. And then we kind of like wanted to like make up, and just like he was saying things that I was like really like, okay, this is not gonna work. And then when we broke up, I was like, that's it, because when we first started dating, I told him, if we break up, that's it. Our partnership
Mhm.
is done. So if you want to go into this, it's all or nothing, right? I'm not going to be one of those girls. I am not like, and I'm not judging them. I'm saying I don't have the personality to be one of those girls that are in a relationship with somebody, gets hurt, gets fucked, and then they continue to work with them for a name, for work. No, 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 no. I don't have that personality. I completely admire people who have that personality to be able to be like, okay, I'm over it. Let's work. Not me. I don't have that personality. Like I don't have it in me. I can't do that. So everything broke off, and I have a pattern. Let me share this with all of you. I've shared it with some of you, but like I have a pattern of behavior. I had a pattern, not anymore, where I would have a great boyfriend. So let me tell you, Bruno is my dance partner. JC is my fiance now, right? And they're amazing. But I found really amazing men along my life. These are not the only ones, right? So I've had an amazing relationship, and I would sabotage it. I would feel like I'm not worthy of having an amazing relationship, and I would break their hearts and go with a really bad guy. I did this 5 times. I'm not, okay, let me say, not a really bad guy into a really bad relationship, because that's argued, right?
Mhm.
And when I broke up with Marco, I was like, I know a good guy is coming, because this is my pattern.
Oh.
This is my pattern. I had a really amazing boyfriend. I broke up with him. I broke his heart. I went with Marco. It was a really bad relationship. And I was like, I know something's good is coming. And I see my pattern. And you see, when I broke up with my ex before Marco, he told me, he was like, don't do it. He's like, I know you think you don't deserve to be loved. I know you
Mhm.
think you don't deserve to be in a healthy, good relationship. You do. Don't do this because this is your pattern. And I did it, and he was right, right? So when I broke up with him, I was like, I'm going to therapy because I won't do this again. I won't do this to myself. I won't meet another great guy and break his heart and hurt him. I won't do this again. And that's when I went into therapy. And then a year later, I met JC, and here we are, 5 years later, happy.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way. When is the wedding?
I think September next year. We're still trying to see if it's possible, but we want to get married soon. We don't want to have a
Hmm.
long engagement.
Hmm. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So kind of from the Marco stage, you moved to were you already working with Bruno or not yet? That happened later.
Okay, so I broke up the whole thing with Marco. It was like January 2018. And
Mm-hmm.
then the funniest thing is that I met JC and Bruno at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we became like, I started dating JC and kind of like exploring the idea of dancing with Bruno at the same time. They're both born in the same year, right? And they love each other obsessively, right?
Okay.
So it's just
When
like
were they born? Tell us which year is it? When?
1991. They're 6 years younger than me.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think that's the way to go. Younger men, they're a little more grip in their reality with the,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
But it's true, you know. I mean, for me, it's like a decade. I would say that the men that are now 30 are more like we speak a similar language
yeah,
than the men at my age.
I really think so. Like, JC loves a strong woman. He really
Mm.
does. Like, even when we're watching TV and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's such a bitch. And he's like, I like it. I'm like, I get it, right? So yeah, I met them at the same time, and then I started working with Bruno. And I think like this is the happiest I've been in my career, for sure. Like this is the happiest I've ever been with. Like, there's still so much to kind of explore with my dancing, for sure, but I've really kind of like developed my voice, what I want to do with my art. I realized like I don't just want like standing ovations and likes on Instagram. Like I really kind of like wanna learn who I am as an artist, as a dancer, as a choreographer, as a teacher, as a mentor. And having the right people next to you really allows you to do that, right?
Mm.
Because Bruno is not somebody that's pulling me down or controlling me, right? When we create a choreography, we're both exploring, we're both working, we both, he lets me be, he helps me out. So I wanted this already for my life, and then like just having a partner like him really gives me the space to be myself, and I'm so happy. Like I don't know how long this is gonna last. We never made it like an official like kind of partnership, like kind of like Marco and I did it, because Bruno's a microbiologist, and like he has his job, and I kind of wanted somebody who their main job wasn't dance, because I also have my solo stuff that I don't want to let go of. And when you have somebody that depends on the dancing, like kind of like depends on you working together. So I wanted that. So I'm hoping Bruno and I will last for my whole life, right? But who knows, because he also has his job. So if at some point the partnership has to like flail because of that, it will. But for the moment, I'm just so happy when I get on stage with him. I know he has me. There's no competition between us, right? Like, when I see people looking at him, I'm happy. People look at me, they look at him. Like, it's not like I take all the attention or like he does. We're not even trying. Like, we are a partnership. We are friends. We are friends dancing with each other. And I'm so happy in this point of my career. I have my girls still. I have my teams. They're so much more inclusive. I like to do choreographies that have some meaning. Right now, I'm working on my newest one, and they just made me a song. So I'm really happy. I'm really sitting into understanding who I am as a person, and like I said at the beginning, that reflects who I am as an artist. And not everybody loves it, and not everybody agrees with it. But not everybody loves me, and not everybody agrees with me as a person either. So it's
Well,
clear that that's going to reflect on my
well,
dancing.
I'm really glad that we're having this conversation because we need role models, in the industry who actually have control over their life and work, and can spread this good vibe, because my experience as a performer was exactly, I mean, 15 years ago, obviously with different standards, but was exactly the opposite, of what you're talking right now. Like I heard from my partner, why are you asking me for money if my friends still think I'm better on stage than you? So that
I mean,
that
on
happened,
that note, Bruno and I, we split it 50-50. And you could
Yeah.
say like I'm the one that makes most of the contacts because I've been in the industry as a professional for so much longer. And a lot of people told me like, no, you and Bruno shouldn't make 50-50. And I say, we do 50-50 of the work.
Mm.
Of course, if I go and I teach an extra workshop, that workshop goes for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? But like, it's not about the name. Oh, some people might disagree. That's the way I see it. It's
Mm-hmm.
about the effort we're putting into the partnership. And Bruno puts the same effort I put into the partnership. So why would I don't care if
Mm.
I'm more known or whoever has more level, right? It's
I
partnership.
mean, I think right now a lot of this has changed, and I know this because I like to pay by bank transfer. Everything is legal with elSol. So now I know that I actually sometimes transfer to separate accounts the same amounts. But I'm really happy that this exists now, because for me, I at some point I quit being in the international community as a performer because it didn't make sense for me. It wasn't rewarded enough. I had a baby and I made more money on my business and my school over the weekend than being a superstar.
And that's
So
interesting. You see how sad it is
yeah.
that, and I thought about it, Karel, te amo en secreto. Y yo a ti. No sé quién eres, pero es secreto entre nosotros. So, luego voy a darle clic a tu perfil. So, for me, I have my moments, and they come more often than you all imagine, where I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I recently saw an interview that I found it so sad and so disheartening and so narcissistic. And like people follow this and they encourage this, and I'm like, I don't want to be in this industry anymore. Where
Mm,
like people still talk like this, and they're still in positions of power, and they're such bigots and ungrateful, like and such low values and integrity, and people still follow this. I'm like, fuck this, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to
mm,
go somewhere else. And then I think, you got to be in the game to play the game. If
mm,
all the people with integrity leave the community, what do we have left? Right? Somebody has to do the fight. And I'm not saying here I'm perfect and I'm like the fighter, right? But I think that the only way that I can improve my community if it's I'm still in there trying, right? And I'm not saying it's going to be forever. Maybe there's going to be a one point that I give up, right? But I am hoping that more people, little by little, as our world is evolving, right? We're also going to evolve, and a lot of people, compare salsa and bachata, right? And a lot of people say, oh, people go to bachata because it's easier, and I think that that's a very simplistic view. I think that there's many reasons why people leave salsa for bachata, and I think one of the reasons is because bachata is a lot more inclusive in general. In
mm,
bachata, you have a lot more younger people in positions of power, and that already makes it more inclusive. In salsa, you still have the same people in positions of power who a lot of them have the same views about, sexism and the way things are done, and they're narcissistic and they're baby boomers, and we're not being inclusive enough. I've had people who are in power get off of a judge's table because there was a same gender category and said, I'm not going to watch this, right? So if we don't make salsa more inclusive, if we don't move forward, why would I want my young kid to be
mm,
exposed to a 60-year-old who's trying to get in her pants,
mm,
right? These things are real. And like I said before, if we continue to support these behaviors, we're gonna lose our community. So we can't really separate the dancer from the person. And I encourage everybody to be a little bit more selective with who they're supporting. Make sure that these people are aligning with your values, because as long as we're putting money in their pockets, they're not going to feel any accountability, and they're not going to change any of their behaviors. So this is what I was saying earlier, right? Like, it affects us all. So at the end of the day, if you overlook this, you're part of the problem. So we all have to move forward with the conversation. We have to be in the game. We have to be selective. We have to see who we are, who we continue to support, because we are going to lose Salsa if we don't become more inclusive. We're going to lose Salsa if, as individuals and instructors and people in power, we don't continue to try to be better people. Yes, not perfect. I am so imperfect. I've made so many mistakes. I keep saying that, right? But I'm trying. I'm trying to be a better person. I take seriously when somebody shows up in my room. I take seriously what I say because they listen, they admire you, they look at you, and they want to be like you. So we have to take that responsibility seriously and try to be better people for that, for them, for us, for everybody, I think.
I'm just trying to remember because I heard them. I heard about the drama, but I'm just trying to remember names because you got me thinking.
Which drama? Which drama? Out of all of them, there's so much
Yeah,
drama.
no, but the with the underage girl, it was a
Anya,
recent.
this happens so much. I was a victim of that myself,
Mhm.
right? So at the end of the day, this happens and it continues to happen. And this abuse of power continues to happen, right? And we are the ones that are allowing these type of
Mhm.
behaviors. And it happens in the entire world. But like I said, like it's not only that, it's the sexism, it's the homophobia, how much homophobia there is, how much double standards there is. Because men can dance feminine, but how many girls dance masculine? Let people be what the fuck they want to be. If they want, dancing is its self expression. If one moment I want to be masculine and explore my masculine side, which is not very good, right? Let me be. This is art. This is my form of expression. If somebody wants to explore their feminine side, but the thing is that feminine is seen as inferior, masculine is seen as superior. So women can dance like men. Oh, if women dance like men, they're seen as stronger dancers.
Mhm.
But if men dance like women, or if men dance more feminine, I hate these like women men
Mhm.
situation, right? Then they're seen as inferior, right? So these double standards that continue to exist in our industry, they're very limiting for our community.
Mhm.
And we are going to lose it if we don't become better people, right? So this drama of raping, that's what it's called, continues to happen, right? And that's just one thing out of the many things, the manipulation, the emotional abuse that a lot of people go through with these directors, right? The womanizing, the seeing women as less than. Oh, I can have her today, but guess what, I am me, so I don't like her anymore, so here's my new girlfriend. And like now she's my new partner, and like whatever, because the other one didn't work out, because women are just disposable and there's so many, I can just grab any. Are you serious? Right? So you people who are here on Instagram and on Facebook, you are the ones that have the power to make that change, by holding your leaders accountable, by having the tough
Mhm.
conversations, by not being comfortable and saying like, well, I just want to learn how they do SCQ, I don't care if they're assholes raping women. What? Are you
Mhm.
kidding me? What? No, no, that shouldn't be accepted anymore. I think. And somebody told me, and this really hit me, they said, make sure that because you want things better, you don't become the oppressor, right? Make sure that you're not just so stuck on your values that you are becoming the oppressor yourself. And I really think about that, because I know my ways can be so strong sometimes, right? But I also think that we need to change, and if we don't take it seriously, I don't know how far we can go. Look how far we are with these kind of things. It's been really far. I've heard of people who spike dancers who spike women's drinks and rape them, and the next day the girl doesn't remember anything.
Does it happen in salsa? I heard in kizomba that it
No, 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 no,
happened.
no, no, no. This happens dancers in salsa.
What the hell? Where is everybody thinking that it's not
Yeah,
gonna
and
come out? I mean,
the thing is that it hasn't. The thing is that it hasn't. It hasn't come out. A lot of these behaviors continue to happen, And we see it as like, well, it's normal. Well, she kind of like was asking for it. Well, like, these are positions of power. There's a reason why there's laws that prevent professors sleeping with their students, even if they're
Mm.
not underage, because of positions of power, right? So I think these conversations are really, really important, because people, when I really want to communicate, is people have the power to hold their leaders accountable. And I really want you to think about that. Everybody who's watching this, I really want you to think, how much are you willing to overlook for a good dancer? How much are you willing to overlook for a famous dancer, for a class with a famous dancer? And I'm not saying like cancel them. I don't think that's the solution. But I do think that holding them accountable gives them an opportunity to change. I'm not saying don't ever like let's cancel them, let's kill them. I'm saying like let's actually hold them accountable. Let's have the tough conversations. Let's ask them to change, and if they don't, then bye. But maybe there will be, try, I don't know, but but if we just overlook, pretend that that's not happening, all of the shit that everybody has seen happening, we just overlook it, there's literally no consequences,
Mm.
only because
I
you
would,
want to take a class and a Suzuki.
I would like to know about this. Whatever happens,
I mean,
some
Anya,
stuff
we
I
know.
know. Specifically, I mean.
Right, no, but we know of a lot of guys, we hear them, we hear the things that they say, we just don't really we don't really, it's like what you said, right? Like there's so many things that are internalized, like so much internalized sexism. And like we a lot of people have love and appreciation for a lot of these instructors, right? So we tend to overlook a lot of the things, right? And I'm not saying it's on purpose, it's just like, it's just what happens sometimes. Somebody's asking me, how would you approach that, meaning
Mhm.
holding them accountable? I think it's a really long, deep conversation. I don't personally have a perfect answer. I think it's something that we as a community need to kind of like figure out. But I do think that it starts just with that spark within you, where you are actually questioning who you're following, right? I think that that's the first step. That you actually say, okay, does this person align with the values? Does this person contribute positively to the community? And I'm not just talking about dancing, right? Is this person like really doing a positive change for our community as a person? I think starting with that question can really lead to you getting some answers on how to handle some of those situations, right? Because I had a situation with somebody and I was in their event and I saw how they were handling the situation and I said, I don't think this is respectful. I'm not going to be a part of your event. And this is a very famous event and I benefit from being there, and I also benefit financially because I need to work, right? But I took my stance and I said, I can't preach all this shit and then be at an event that is led by a man like you. So
Yeah.
I'm stepping back and I'm not going to be a part of this event. Right? So then this person already wants to have a conversation with me. Right? So when we sit down and have the conversation, he's like, "Why? Exactly what happened?" I'm gonna be like, this, and that." And then the conversation starts, and hopefully that sparks something in this person to maybe figure out his behavior or analyze how to do things better. Maybe not, but at least there's a starting point, and within me, there's an action within me, and hopefully that'll at least make them think about their choices as people, as leaders. Anybody has some thoughts? This got real deep, real fast.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just saddened me. Actually, I must say that lately I haven't been so much around the international salsa community, except for, being online and in touch with our artists. But I don't really go to salsa events, so I kind of lost the regular contact.
Right.
I have become also a lot more sensitive to what people talk about since I have a teenage daughter.
Yeah.
So there are certain lines that I just cannot bear, and I think I'm currently not surrounded by that. So like I'm trying to imagine, the things we're talking about.
I mean, we don't have a
Yeah,
lot of new people, Anya. It's the same people.
that's true. Actually,
Yeah.
when I was something came out on my Facebook the other day from 10 years ago, a flyer of elSol, and this was the same names. I was like, okay, 10 years.
Yeah,
It's kind of, I mean, look at bachata. There's so much rotation. There are new stars coming up every
exactly.
season.
But that's what I'm saying. The youth,
Yeah,
right? If you don't have a community that's inclusive, the youth is not going to join because the world is
yes,
changing. You have Gen Z who like has a grip on like the bigotry of the world, right? So if
yeah,
I'm a Gen Zer, of course there's many aspects. There's the music, there's many things. I'm not saying that's just it, but I think that's one piece of the puzzle, right? Where if
mhm,
you have a community that's inclusive and safe, young people are not going to join it. And if we don't have young people, we don't have new things. We don't have new artists. We don't have new music, right? We need young people. And for that, we need a safer, more inclusive community. Safer, more conscious, better leaders in our community to make those changes.
mhm. Yeah, young people will not take any bullshit. My daughter is educated on TikTok.
Yes.
When she's even oversensitive, she's gonna say, "You just said something sexist," or, like no mercy. The things that we
Yes.
put up with 10 years
Yes.
ago, they will not put up with this.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what
Yeah,
I'm saying. And we need new people for our community to continue to thrive, right? If not,
Mhm.
what? Like I'm 38, like I don't
I'm
know how
40.
much
Yeah,
longer I want to have this for. There's a lot, somebody said there's a lot of introspection that has to happen too. There's so much that people align with because they don't know what they stand for within themselves. So these leader becomes a role model. Yes, exactly. That's what I said. I think the first step is kind of like doing the work on your own, seeing what you want, what you don't want, what you value, what you don't value, and then see if your leaders and instructors are aligning to that. We need young people to join our community, and we need them to be safe. We need this to be a safe community, not because we want the community to continue, because we need this to be a safe community. I don't want young girls to have to go through a lot of the shit that I had to go through. I refuse to allow that to happen, right? So if I can in any way pave that way and get in a fight with all of the men that are in the industry doing the bad shit, I am already in a fight with them. I don't care, but I will refuse. Oh, hello, headphone. Even my headphones upset, right? I will refuse to just put up with it. And like I said, maybe my delivery should be better for sure. Yeah, I don't want to become an oppressor too. That's for sure. But I won't allow it. I won't support it. If you've never seen me at somebody's school social event, it's because
that's
I
the
don't
answer.
support that.
Yeah, that's the answer.
I mean, sometimes I just don't get invited. That too, but in general, yeah.
Mhm.
Bruce, love you. So yeah, that's the tea. That's the tea.
What are your
What do you
plans,
think?
Cara, for the
What are my
future?
plans? Well, I'm coming up with a new choreography with the girls. Bruno and I are also working on some new stuff, but we're not going to take it out until next year, because Bruno's going through a lot of changes, and we just kind of like came out with our new routine in November. So we feel like we want to start like when the year starts. I'm going to get
So where
married.
does where does Bruno work with his
Bruno
degree?
just graduated with a PhD in microbiology. So he is now he has a job with the city of New York. I think like detecting threats in the water. So like if there's any like threats of diseases, terrorist attacks, or
Uh-huh.
anything, he's gonna like be a director of a project overviewing that for the city of New York. Like some
Wow.
some big deal shit. Some big deal shit. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
And
yeah.
and where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I want to write a book. So I think that's where I really want to go. Nowadays, my cave moments get a lot more likes than my dancing videos. So I think people just want me to talk more than dance. I don't know. So I think I want to write a book, or like have somebody write it for me. I'm not a writer. And then probably move on to like public speaking, something like that. I think I always want to dance, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep doing the Congress life for much longer. Yeah, I actually now that we're here, like maybe I want to maybe hear you out and your take, and also people who are here watching, because I love my job so much. I love traveling. I love going to congresses. I love performing. I love social dancing. I love teaching. I don't love not sleeping 12, 16 nights a month, right? And it's really affecting my physical health at 38, doing this for 19 years almost. And it's really affecting my mental health, because I am just not happy to go to work, because I know I won't sleep and I get cranky. And that crankiness sometimes reflects on people, and then like I get negative feedback, and like that whole thing just trickles down to so much. So I've been really considering like making it public and talking to promoters that I will not be at socials anymore. And not like I will never be at a social anymore, more like I don't want that to be expected of me. If I don't have anything in the next morning, or if I don't have an event where I'm doing 14 hours, 15 hours of classes and shows, like I will be there, but I would like to have a little bit more of the freedom to do it if I want to, because it
Mhm.
has really like a party like, and I really want to hear your take on it, because it's not me being a diva, like all the shit that people I know are gonna say, right? But I think that when people go to a party, is because they want to go to a party, right?
Mhm.
And for us, I understand that this is a social dance and people want to dance with you, people are paying money to come see you. I get that whole thing, but it's so mandatory, right? And it's just so hard to stay up all night, 3 4 nights a week. I mean, 3 4 nights a week, right? 3 4 times a month. That it's really detrimental to our health. So I am gonna go to socials, but I think I wanna reserve the right to do it when I feel like I can do it,
Mhm.
right? That I can do it with my best foot forward, that I can do it happy, and that I can do it because I don't know about you all. What do you think? But like, do you really want to dance with somebody that doesn't want to dance? I want to know. I really want to know, because I'm just exploring the idea. I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen,
Mhm.
but I'm really toying with the idea of
It's really
the most
interesting,
freedom. Yeah.
yeah, that you mention it, because I'm also a dancer. I mean, not an active performer dancer in the international community now, but I had the job, for a good couple of years. So I understand how dancers, instructors burn out with the Congress life, especially if it's not an excuse for them to party, drink, and hit on girls, but if they treat this work seriously, because there's you can come to teach 3 hour classes, have a lot of drinks, and be a party person, right? Or you can
Yes.
come to do some crazy muscle work. So I always kind of, when people attack me and say your artists don't show up to the socials, I mean, for now they have been showing up, but it's not so intensely, or the event is so
Right.
big, everybody's so busy. Why don't you make them? And you should make them. And I'm always like, it's a bit out of my hands, because they're not my monkeys. It is a general
Right.
expectation that
Yeah.
they contribute to the party, but I also understand that they're exhausted. It's not the only congress that they come to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I would like for them to be super happy and dancing all the time in elSol, but they do this every week. So I kind of always had a lot of understanding also for the dancers part, and the exhaustion, and the lack of sleep, especially past the age of 25, when it really becomes something. So I have an understanding. I think you have the kind of position with your team, your projects, that you could actually state that while you're making a booking, or signing a contract. I think promoters would forgive you. For me, it would be understandable. Understandable. Of course, there is the presumption that the others will want to demand it, and
Right.
I think maybe there are different status, or maybe that you book people for different things. Like I book you to do the boot camp, to do the artistic work, and then I book I don't know, the team of Angelo Rito, for instance, that they're gonna do one show, but I also book them because there are a lot of men, and I expect these men to be on the dance floor because, especially
Right.
in Poland, we always have more
Right.
ladies. So in their case, it's going to be crucial that
And
they make
I
the
think it's
party.
important to, like, I don't know, but like to spark a conversation around expectations, you know? So
Mm,
it's not just me saying like I'm never gonna go to social or something like that, right? Like for me it's about like that, like sparking a, like really starting a conversation about like how we are leading our community and the things that we can actually realistically do, because I'm not so worried about like promoters wanting to hire me if I claim that, because the thing is people want to dance with you, and I respect that. And a lot of people save money to go to an event to have the opportunity to see you, dance with you, or whatever, right? But I think that the conversation, it's important to have a conversation around like I absolutely understand this, respect it, and I want to be there, but can I physically at this point in my career, can I do it, right? And like, and I think this hustle mentality, this hustle culture that we have in the world, where it's like you have to work to the bone, right? And you have to
mm,
work to the bone, and doesn't matter what you're giving up for your job. And I think that that's also changing with the new generations, where it's like, yes, my job is my job, but I have to take care of my integrity as a person, as a physical body, you know? So
mm.
I think that conversation also needs to start in our community, because it's not the same. And like you said, there are a lot of artists that have been doing this for a long time, and they just drink and party, and maybe they're more resilient, or maybe they don't care about taking care of their bodies or their health, or like maybe they're just built differently, right? But not everybody is built that way. Not
But
everybody has
some,
the same
you know,
priorities.
but some of them actually burn out, you know. And the thing is, where
Yeah,
will you burn out? Will you be giving less in your class? Will you be giving less in your show, or will you be giving less in the social, right?
right.
And then after many years, usually it also shows, you know.
Exactly.
Bachata artists will tell you that they will only be at the social for 1 or 2 hours, and it's in the contract, you know, because something has to give in. Some people stop performing or never perform, for instance. It's
Yes.
already an easier job when you're not
Yes.
performing, not rehearsing. You're not stressed about the stage. You're not stressed about how feeling good and strong and doing your hair and face for 2 hours, right, to perform. So there you go. uh,
Literally.
so it is an important conversation. I think for me, for instance, I have a lot of other promoters, actually male promoters, which is interesting subjects for you and I.
I know which ones without you even saying names.
They try to make pressure on me, or like they make groups of promoters, and they try to have a common front towards the artists, like let's not give them separate rooms, or let's not I don't know, let's not pay them so much, you know, let's have a lobby. And I feel like I am an artist creating a soul, writing a soul. This is artistic work for me. So I purposefully design a lineup in a way that I know this person is going to be in the morning in the social. We need that. You know, this person is a legend. They're going to teach 3 classes, and they have to be there. This person is going to work their ass off in the class, you know? And I can differentiate this, and you need a selection of artists. Not everyone is going to do everything.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. And you see,
so
like something really interesting with what you just said. I was just having this conversation with somebody, because um everything is transactional in this world, right? So basically, when I go to your event, I'm giving you my name, my work, my artistry, my body for your event to thrive. And you are giving me a job for me to expose my art, my artist, my myself, and to
mhm.
make money, right? When somebody comes to my class, they pay for my class, right? But they're not just paying for my class, they're paying for my artistry, for my instruction, for my years of experience. They're getting all of this, right? When they pay for my class, I'm getting their money, their support, they're giving me opportunity to expose myself, to learn, to whatever. Nobody's doing anybody a favor.
Mm,
And that's, I think, a really bad misconception. A lot of people that come to your class, they act like they're doing you a favor because I'm paying you so you can live. A lot of
mm,
promoters that are hiring artists, they act like we're not going to give them rooms because we're giving them a favor. We're doing them a favor by having them come to our event. Do your event without artists, right? Nobody's doing any favors. You're not doing me a favor by coming. I'm not doing you a favor by coming. We are
mm.
transactional. This is a business transaction. This is what I ask. this is what you ask. Can we both agree on what everybody's asking? Sure. There's no favors. Even if we negotiate, even if you tell me I'm going to pay you less or give me an extra workshop, that's a negotiation. That's not a favor that I'm doing you, Anya. That's a negotiation. I decide if I want to agree to that negotiation or not. So a lot of these promoters, and I hope they're watching, you are hiring an artist to do a job, and they're going to do the best job that they can, right? And like you said, a lot of people I think they're there for different things, right? But nobody is doing me a favor by hiring me. Of course I need to be hired, but it's not a favor. It's a business transaction between two people where you benefit and I benefit as well, right? So let's get rid of this mentality of like, I'm doing you a favor, so now I'm going to try to like screw you over. No, if you're agreeing to my terms and I am agreeing to your terms, let's both do our jobs. Period. No?
Well, yeah. I think you're making an interesting point that every of these, involvements, it's time and energy consuming, and because it has been a general assumption that the artist is in the social, it doesn't mean that everybody wants and can do it, right? And it's not and promoters or dancers, participants should not be offended. She's such a bitch, she's not dancing in the social, but it's not in your contract,
Right.
and the community is evolving, the events are evolving. Of course, 20 years ago when it was a new idea, everybody wanted to be there at the social, and
Because they
I still
weren't
did.
traveling for 19 years.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. And like I said, I think it's a conversation. Like, I don't think anything should be written in stone, but I think it's a conversation more for the health of the community as well, right? For people, because I've heard it, even with it when it's not me, like, oh, this artist didn't come last night. Like, oh my God, what an asshole, right? Like, even from male artists, right? Instead of like, instead of just having a little bit more room for choice, right? I understand this is our job. I understand that our job comes with certain obligations. I understand that, but I think that everything evolves. We can evolve too with conversation, right? With perspective, with wanting things to be better and more sustainable for every party involved.
I think I'm trying to think from a dancer's perspective. There is general pressure, like for an artist to show up in a social, and you have to look perfect, and someone's gonna run with a camera behind you. If you could show up in jeans and t-shirt and just hang out by the DJ.
Anya, let me tell you, and I
Okay.
love dressing up. I love dressing
Yeah.
up, right? But if I didn't have to do my makeup, I could
Yeah.
show up in my sweats and sneakers,
Yeah.
and there was no expectation about anything, right?
Yeah.
And also like I could show up when I can, because the thing is like, okay, you see me, I stay until 2 in the morning, right? And I have a workshop, let's say at 11. But by the time I get to the room, take my makeup off, take my clothes off, take a shower, I'm going to bed at 4 or 5 in the morning anyway, right? By the time you're not wired from like the
Yes.
energy and the social and
Mhm.
the whatever, right? So there's a lot of implications. I think
Mhm.
one of them, of course, like it's harder for if you're in heels that if you're
Mhm.
not, right? So like I think there's a lot of things to unpack, and as a community I think we need to talk about it, right? It's not a
Mhm.
diva thing, it's a sustainability issue.
Mhm. I'm mentioning it because right now, for instance, I'm dancing. I came back to dancing Zouk, and I'm in the Kizomba community. And what I love about this is that people just dance in sneakers and they dress very street, very casual. Of course, sometimes they're super dressed up and body parts showing and so on. But there is a lot more freedom. I stopped doing crazy makeup. I only do eyelashes and just model my face a bit, and that's it, because it's more about the feeling and being together than about looking. And I think in the Latin community, there's a lot of expectations that you have to be perfect.
I mean, that's still sexism, right?
Yeah, well, I try to get out of it, and I love this. And if when I give myself the freedom also to just go for 1 hour, hang out, have a drink, that's something completely different. That when you're thinking you're gonna show there for the people and you want to satisfy their needs, and there's gonna be a lot of will she dance, will she not dance, that's
I think like I said, I think it's just like, I mean, I'm the first one that I want to dress up and like do my makeup,
Mhm.
because I don't do it when I'm home. I do it when I own a congress, right? But I think it's like I said, like just let's say even like when somebody asks you to dance, right? If I go and I ask somebody and they said no, maybe spark the conversation that people, even if it's not an artist, let's say just two people who are not artists that go to a conference. If somebody says no, maybe just respect somebody's boundaries, somebody's
Mhm.
decision, instead of like making a whole story in your head about why this person said no, right? It's the same
Mhm.
thing. Like if an artist doesn't want to come down to a social, instead of assuming and making up a story of why this person is not coming down to social, maybe just respect the decision that somebody didn't want to come to social, right? Understanding the boundaries of work and all that. I'm not saying like I don't understand the obligations of my work. I repeat
Mhm.
that. But I think instead of just making so many assumptions and like already like stories in our heads, we should maybe just respect a little bit more people's decisions and boundaries. And I think that that would make the world so much easier for each other, right? Instead of me thinking, oh my God, he said no because I look ugly in this dress. People do that. Right? I've had people that are like, oh, you said yes to him, but not to me. And I think it was because that day I was really sweaty. And I'm like, dude, I just didn't like the song. I don't even remember who you are at this moment. Right? So it
Mhm.
would give people more peace of mind instead of personalizing everything, just understanding that people have choices
So
and
how
boundaries.
when you say no, how do you say it? Because I usually say, "I'm sorry, not right now," or "I have to go to the bathroom," or "I'm trying to take a moment. Give me a moment." Or how
Yeah,
do
I
you say
usually
no?
say like, "Oh my God, can we do next, like the next one, or a little bit later? Like, I don't like this song, or like." But you see, I'm usually genuine with the things that I say,
Hmm.
right? Like, I hate when people ask me to dance one after the other, and one after the other, and one after the other, and I get it. I get it. You're like, if I don't do it now, I'm never gonna get
Yeah.
the chance. You're gonna leave. You're gonna walk out. I get it. I'm not judging it. I understand it. I hate it. I hate to be asked one after the other. I hate to be asked to dance before I know what the song is, because I'm a dancer. I want to like connect with the music that I'm dancing to. And I get it. I was once a beginner that wanted to dance every song. It didn't matter what. I wanted to dance with my artist and I wanted to see my artist. So I get it. I'm not telling you I don't understand. But what I'm saying is I personally don't like it. Right. So when people are asking back to back, I'm like, can we do next one? Right? Or if my feet hurt, like my feet hurt, or I have uncomfortable shoes, or like I didn't, like I try to be as genuine. I don't make up an excuse like, I'm gonna, I typically tend to tell them exactly what it is because it's the truth. And just people don't like it. I don't like this song. Some people are like, and I'm like, well, I can't dance a song that I don't like. And then if I do and I don't feel it, they're gonna be like, oh, she didn't dance. She wasn't happy when she was dancing. Dude, I don't like this song.
Yeah.
So there's so many ways to kind of like dismiss a person and like assume, instead of just, she doesn't like the song, I'll come back for another song. And if I don't, there's so many people I can dance to. I really want to dance with her, but if it's not possible, I'm going to go take her class or enjoy her show, or like maybe have a conversation with her when she's leaving.
Yeah.
That had that interaction, right? And this is not overcomplicate things. It's so much easier. You see, this is therapy speaking. I used to make drama out of everything. This is years of therapy and evolving and maturing.
This is generally a female subject, also because guys, when they get asked to dance, they manage the dance. They can do a very
Lead,
slow,
lead,
basic dance. They
leads,
lead,
not
yeah,
dance.
but leads. Sorry, lead, yeah, leaders. They decide what they're gonna lead, right? So
Right.
if they're feeling lazy, sweaty, and their feet are hurting, they're gonna just do a very relaxed dance.
Yeah.
But us as girls, we don't decide, and sometimes you get someone who is offbeat, or you get someone who's really excited about dancing, what he's gonna do, or the hardest partner work that they learned, and we don't really. It's hard to say. Okay, I mean, sometimes I say, "Can you just slow down?" Or like,
And they get
"I'm
offended.
really tired." Yes, yes, that is also not right. So
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes
It's
I told one
complicated.
guy once, when he was pushing me really hard, and I said, "Yo, I'm only 55 kilos heavy, light. You don't need to do that." It's and at first he didn't get it, but I was suffering.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like there's just so, and that's what I'm saying. Like it's not necessarily it's not necessarily about the dancing, the not dancing, the coming down to a social, the not coming down to a social. Those are like very specific pinpoints. It's about respect, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
about conversation. It's about boundaries and limits, right? I think that's where I want to get to. Like, if somebody tells you, like, oh, can you leave me a little bit less rough? Instead of them being like, oh my gosh, she told me I was rough, maybe saying
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, she feels like she's being pulled. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like that. Like, oh, I don't like this song. Oh my gosh, she just making an excuse not to dance with me. She doesn't like the song, right? Like, a good friend of mine told me one day, assume positive intent, and that really
Mm-hmm.
changed a lot of things for me, right? Because I usually typically assume negative intent.
Mm-hmm.
So now when somebody says something or does something, I try to assume positive intent, and it doesn't make me create stories in my head. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, she said she doesn't like the song.
Mm-hmm.
Next,
Yeah.
right? People just make so many stories in their heads about
Mm-hmm.
what we're thinking, what we're doing, why we are acting a certain way, and it's just sometimes a cigarette is just a cigarette. And sometimes it's just a lot simpler than we want to make it seem.
We have a comment on Instagram. You see?
Oh, she said, or what about the ones that use their strength when dancing and they continue to be so rough? Learning not to take things personally is good. Yeah. Also keeping the ego out for sure. I mean, I think that we can go so much into the roughness and the this, and I think there's a lot of like a lot, again, a lot of issues with technique and instruction and connection, and like that's why when we did the turns class at elSol, we did a lot of technique when we talked a lot
Mm-hmm.
about like with leading and following. So I think the roughness and all that, like sometimes it's just how a person dances, sometimes is a person lacking technique, sometimes is maybe your perception, like maybe sometimes we just you dance and you try to adapt as much as you can, and then that's it. Next, right? Like this is part of the dancing, developing your instincts as a dancer
Well,
and being able
I
to
would
adapt.
say
Yeah,
I would say usually they have a good intention too, because this is how they learn to dance.
for
Someone taught
sure,
them to dance,
for
like
sure.
this, that this is salsa, so they
That's
don't
why we
really
have to be
see.
selective about our instructors. We go
Mm,
back to that, right? But they're how will they know, I guess. Yeah,
true. Karel,
I
would you
guess
like
only.
to? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, go
tell
ahead.
me something.
Go ahead.
No,
No, would
I
you
was
like
saying,
to
like, I
send
guess.
a message? And okay, you go first.
Sorry, sorry, no, go for it, go for it. No, go.
No, because you had another. I wanted to change the subject, and you had another thing to add. So edit here.
No, I was gonna say we go back to again the person. Like you can never really know how good a teacher could be, but you can know how integral he is as a person, and that usually reflects also in the way they teach and they are with their dancing.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
But we already talked about
Mm. Is there anything you'd like to add or say to the newcomers or to the wider community that's watching us?
I mean, I don't think there's much more than what I already said. I really want to emphasize, being selective about your instructors, so we can keep our community alive. To make, being really introspective about your own internalized bigotry, racism, sexism, homophobia, because it's important that we continue to evolve as people, so we can continue to evolve our community. And I really, I'm here trying to be a better person, a better leader, a better dancer for all of you, and I'm always open to be held accountable, to learn more, to have the tough conversations, to correct mistakes. So I'm really open to that from all of you, because I respect every single one of my followers, my leaders, my students, and I want to make sure that I am the leader that you always need me, and expect me to be.
Kara, we need a tip from you. A rough lead makes me scared, like I'm going to fall. I'm sure you have a technical tip for that.
What
How
do
to
you think?
avoid
Do you
falling.
think I've danced with a rough lead? Think about my career.
I think you have.
um, I, I think that like technically, like you have to really learn how to hold your own body, how to step well. So even when they kind of like pull you, and I've done this example like in class, right? When like somebody pulls me, you don't see me kind of like just like kind of collapse, because when somebody pulls me, I have my resistance, I have my technique. So if somebody was to pull me, I can like really react. I can be ready for that. So again, study your technique, study how to step properly, how to have your weights in the right place, how to keep your own body, because I don't rely necessarily 100% of my partner. It's like he's starting a movement, I'm continuing a movement. I'm not just hanging there like being pulled and pushed around. Hope that helps.
Actually, I know guys, friends of mine, great leads who complain that they have injuries in their shoulders because women are holding onto
Yeah.
them and pulling them. So that's also,
Yeah. I
we're
mean,
talking here about
yeah, it's
criticizing the
happening a
lead, but
lot where
there's also
people
the
are
follow.
not studying technique. They're just learning moves. You're not studying
Mhm.
dance. I say it in my class every time. My steps are just a tool for you to explore your dancing. I'm not here to answer your questions. I'm here to produce your questions. I'm not here to give you all the answers. I'm here for you to be like, ooh, this doesn't feel right. Why? How can I do to make it feel better? This is the tool. The step is just a step that you're going to forget tomorrow, right? It's the tool for you to, every time you go to a class, you explore your dancing. You figure out what you can and what you cannot do and why. You ask the questions to yourself.
Mhm. You're amazing. We've been talking for 2 hours. It's
I know, I'm
crazy.
sorry.
It gets no, it's fine. My nanny will show up after 7 with my son here. But you're so resourceful. There's always so many topics that we can touch upon. I had notes. I always have notes, but
We never get to the
yeah,
notes, Anya. We're
yeah,
terrible.
you
Oh, I
see.
like that. That's super cute.
So
I appreciate everybody that has been here this whole time and that's watched the whole thing. And I love when you share it in the stories and all that stuff. So, thank you if you've been here, even if you've jumped in and out or whatever. Thank you for being here and like
we're
allowing me
going
to have a
to
voice.
we're going to save this. This will stay, so you can
Yes.
keep resharing this, and we're also going to keep it on our website as part of the description of an artist.
Awesome.
Um, Thank you, Kara. Let's not. I'm going to keep the notes
Let's
for
not get
next time.
emotional.
Yes, I would like
Yes.
you to stay offline for 1 second because
Yes,
I need to
definitely.
ask you about specific names. What we spoke about. I need some knowledge. Renato Veronese, he's a Brazilian Zumba dancer here in Warsaw. Um, he's appreciating you. She is
Thank
amazing.
you. I love you all so much. I really appreciate you. And like I said before, like I'm not a perfect dancer. I'm not a perfect person, a leader or teacher. And I'm here. I wanna be there for you. I want to be better. I want to try to get our community to be better. So I'm here to listen and I'm here to learn and to grow. And hopefully we can do it all together. And we can, just continue to have this community that we love and appreciate so much.
Guys, if you want to, guys, again, you taught me to not say guys, to
Yeah.
say everyone or
I,
people.
I, I say guys and I'm
I
like
know.
friends, people, folks, something
Yeah,
else.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to get the full Karel experience and get to know how she works, what we talk about, why is she demanding, why is she challenging? If you want to have your own opinion, whether she is just hardworking and challenging, or whether she's a bitch. I'm saying this
I
as a
would say a
joke.
little bit of both.
Sometimes the New York style bitch.
Yes.
Um, Come and explore her bootcamp. It's for leads and follows. It's for everyone. It's just a solo work, so men, women, and everybody can join. Would you like to
Yeah,
say something about the
definitely,
bootcamp?
definitely my book. It's the only boot camp that I'm gonna do this year. So it's gonna be a special one. I am a very feminine person in general. So when you see me dance, like the way I move is very feminine, and that's pretty much what I've explored. But I always have shines. It's steps based. So my stuff is not just for women or for people who identify as women. My work is for everybody. So if you wanna come and you wanna modify it, and I encourage people, right? Like when they learn my choreographies, not only in whether it's feminine or masculine, but I encourage you to explore your own style. So even though I give you a hand, that hand can be interpreted how you want, as long as we all have the hand at the same time, right? But I don't think that whether you have, a penis or a vagina, it prevents you from joining a boot camp. So
There
I
you
would
go. That's
say
a
it's for
point.
everybody. It's just, I think it's a really good clarification because a lot of people do think my stuff is
The
just for women.
ladies, just for
Yes,
ladies.
Karel Flores World is a community for women and people who identify as women. But in general, my classes and my boot camps are for everybody. And I also have men in Karel Flores World, as long as they're allies.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you so
Cara.
much,
And,
Anya. Thank you,
make
everybody. I love
sure,
you all.
guys, you use the 15% off today till midnight. Just type in Karel with capital letters as you book your Salsa VIP or Bootcamp pass. And we all see each other this year.
Let's do
in
this boot
Katowice.
camp. It's gonna be amazing.
What is it? Do you know the song already? Do you have a concept?
I'm still debating. I'm still debating. We don't know. And I'm also gonna be there with Bruno doing our new routine, Hay algo en ti, which you just did it and people really like
Well,
it. So
actually, also the lead and follow class where they teach 50% each, right? So you actually have the unique chance to learn some following as well
yes,
as leading.
yes. So definitely our partner work classes are always meant for both, and we're both gonna teach because we're both teachers there.
And I'm
You
looking
know?
forward to your show because I was really amazed last year. It was a gorgeous show,
Thank
and
you.
yeah, let's
Yeah,
see
I
some
can't
more
wait to
of
see
that.
you all in elSol. You know I love this event, and thank you for having me again.
Thank you, Karel. Bye, guys. Have a good
Bye,
weekend.
everybody. Happy
Bye-bye. I'm gonna
Thursday.
disconnect first on Instagram.
Bye.
Okay, that's done, and here and
Bye.
broadcast.
Thanks.